Blue skies out here at Shoreham for a day means just a little bit more than what's on the field. The 9th annual Lax Out Cancer as they raise money for Grayson, Alexa, Hannah, and Jackson. But also a rematch of last year's B Long Island Championship as Shoreham-Wading River will host Garden City. Hi again, everybody, and welcome to News 12 Varsity. I'm Dan Savarino, out here at Shoreham-Wading River High School, the home of the reigning Long Island champion Wildcats, and they'll host the Garden City Trojans. And of course, it means so much more for today, and that's why the pink jerseys will be worn by Shoreham-Wading River, an event that last year raised well over $70,000, and they hope to raise even more here in 2017. Now on to the field itself, and we're going to have a pretty good battle between two of the best, really, you'll see on the island. A top 20 battle in our poll here at News 12 Varsity. Garden City coming off a double overtime win against Hewlett. That was after a little hiccup against Manhasset, who many feel one of the better offenses you'll see in the land in the Woodstick Classic. They gave up 10 goals to them. And it wouldn't be any surprise if they give up more than 10 goals to a team that has scored 10 or more every single contest. One of the top offenses right now on the island in Shoreham-Wading River. This team is completely loaded with talent and expect, obviously, the big key to this game to be at the face-off X. Let's take a look at some of our impact players for today. Jamie Atkinson, the senior captain, had 2 goals last game, including the game winner. He also has 18 tallies on the season and at the first midfield unit. Meanwhile, one of the best scorers on the island over the last 2 years has been Chris Gray. The senior is heading to BU and has 16 points over his last 2 affairs. So that's where we are. It's Shoreham-Wading River hosting Garden City, top 20 battle. Who will come out in the rematch of the Long Island Championship game? We'll find out next on News 12 Varsity.
It's the reason we keep watching, because of underdogs, crazy comebacks, and the last-minute heroics. Because we love it all, the face-offs, the hits, the big-time goals. Because winning never, ever gets old. So, we keep watching anywhere we can. Never miss a moment. Download the News 12 Varsity app today.
We are live from Shoreham, Long Island, New York. This is high school boys lacrosse on News 12 Varsity. And today a top 20 battle as number 17, Shoreham-Wading River, will host number 14, Garden City, here in the 9th annual Lax Out Cancer Day. Hi again, everybody. Dan Savarino here with you. Thanks so much for joining us. Josh Drebsky upstairs, our producer. And boy, oh boy, do we have a good matchup on the field. A rematch of last year's Long Island Championship game in the Conference B. However, Shoreham dropped down this year to C. They will not end up meeting this year if it gets to that point. So you still see a good battle between two squads that returned a lot of key pieces from a year ago. Good offensive squad from Shoreham, who wear the pink jerseys today in honor of Lax Out Cancer. Meanwhile, Garden City in their classic maroons, tops and bottoms. In goal to our left, it's Andrew DePalma, number 17, 98 saves on the season. And in goal to our right, Eric Mueller. Now check that, Teddy Dolan will actually man the pipes to start off. The junior has gone both with those guys, Mueller and Dolan, so we'll see if they end up flip-flopping today. Down to the face-off X. Rest 12 minutes on the clock. We're underway. Kieran Gunn, Joe Miller, as Miller tries to run ahead for Shoreham-Wading River, and SWR fighting for that possession in the GC end. Some good hits along the way as they try and reach in, battling for that loose ball. Still sits, pops out. Nobody still has control here. Wow, what a long possession. And a roll out of bounds. This will stay with SWR. So good battle from the face-off X all the way to the offensive end, as now we'll see one of the top offenses on the island. 13 goals per game is what they score. They have been really a force to be reckoned with, and watch out for number 4, Chris Gray's. This real attack unit of Gray, Arline, and Halpin have been phenomenal this year. All of them have more than 20 goals. And then the first midfield, they actually have a couple of different groups out there. Kind of rotates in. They're going to keep Joe Miller on the field here to start off 56, and they wanted to be able to keep him on the field at points. a guy who has netted 8 so far on the season. Dodging up high, Kyle Bowden, the junior. And here's Kevin Quintanilla. Check that, it's Miller, 56. And then back out to the midfield. Here is Quintanilla as he works down the left side. Dodges to the cage and scores. Kevin Quintanilla. 26th of the season, a 1-0 lead for Shoreham-Wading River, just a minute and 13 seconds in. So Quintanilla, who has had 8 goals over his prior 3 games. Really the quarterback of this offense. He was also the quarterback in that Long Island Championship group on the gridiron. Number 55 getting it done and coming off a 2-2 outing. So back to the X, and Miller will take it. And you notice 2 poles are out there for Shoreham-Wading River. That's what they like to do. Danny Cassidy is one of them, so is Trevor Kessel, number 39. And depending on the win or loss at the face-off X, that kind of adjusts on what they want to do. Mirabel was actually the guy who was on one of the wings there. Procedure against Garden City. So Kieran Gunn is technically 0 for 2. And Gunn had a tough time last year against Joe Miller. That is what head coach Steve Fennell told me before the game. He said that's the first thing, of course, we remember is what Miller was able to do. Don't be surprised you also see one of the freshmen out there in Jake Naso, as this group is pretty young, but still brings back key pieces from a year prior. This is Tim Cairo. He's a second midfield unit. The junior has 4 goals this year. Kyle Bowden back out in the midfield. He hustles down the near side, puts on the brakes, and finds Quintanilla. Kevin matched up there at the pole of Tim Gormley, who is a senior and also a football player as well. Real vocal guy on that D. This team offensively has just been so good, and really no surprise when Mike Taylor's your head coach. When he was an assistant at Dowling in the OC over there, they were top 10 nationally in all Division II in goals per game. Just knows how to run those offensive sets. As Chris Gray shoots on the run, ricochets high in the air and pulled in by Phil Puccio. And I think that deflected off of one of the Garden City players. Chris Gray, you always have to look out for his stick. 61 goals this year for 77 points. A returning All-American. Sean Halpin, the senior, who's heading to Tampa. He cradles behind the cage. And met there by Tyler Wukta. Missed pass back out to the midfield. And over and back is the call. Finn Gibbons will pick it up in the mid, and Tyler Wukta now gallops ahead. First real possession we've seen. Transition game, cutting through the middle, trying to find Coplin. It'll roll out of bounds along the near side, but just corralled in by J.P. Brazel. Seal with a strong effort along the near sideline. And now the first 6-on-6 you'll see for Garden City, as their first midfield unit will be out here of Sean Keating. Jamie Atkinson, highlighted him before, and then Trevor Yaboda Cody, number 15, who works out at right point and finds Keating straight away. Atkinson heading to Princeton next season. A lot of Ivy Leaguers on this group. As Coplin downstairs will move it around the perimeter and back up top for Atkinson. Scored the game-winning goal last time out against Hewlett. A 4-3 win in double OT, where also they hit 6 pipes. And the Hewlett netminder was exceptional in that game. That's what Fennell told me. A little bit of a carryover from the loss against Manhasset. And Manhasset is one of the 3 losses this season for Garden City. Syosset, the reigning Long Island champions in A, they reached the Long Island Championship game in A, and the reigning Nassau County champs. St. Ignatius Prep out of San Francisco, which is a really, really good squad. Every year that comes over from California, plays Chaminade, and then eventually plays Garden City. And then the Manhasset loss, which was a tough one in the 131st Woodstick. Meanwhile, Shoreham, different schedule for them. Only 2 losses, back-to-back games. East Islip, who currently is 11-2. School out of the B, 8-7 was the final score. And then Eastport South Manor, a 10-9 loss. And believe it or not, in the 3 years that Mike Taylor has been the head coach, this is the craziest stat. Every loss, all 7 of them, have been by just 1 goal. Cairo will move it back to Quintanilla. Calls for a pick, doesn't take it, works down the near side. He had the lone goal in this first quarter. Skip pass is picked off as Bacafola, the sophomore long pole, will run ahead through midfield. Basile, 3-year starter, down near goal line Coughlin. Basile dodges inside, elects not to shoot, now fires and scores. J.P. Basile. The senior ties up the score at 1 apiece. Under 7 minutes to play in the first. So Coughlin will get the helper for his 30th point. Basile's 16th of the season. Last year's leading scorer with 61 points. So at 5:07, a 1-1 contest. Gunn and Miller, won cleanly by Miller. Here he comes, dumps it off, give and go, shot high, Chris Gray. Miller's win to Xavier Arline, finds Gray right on the wing, and he does what he does best, score goals. His 62nd of the season, a 2-1 lead for SWR. So just 5 seconds apart between the Basile goal for Garden City, which tied the score, and then the go-ahead tally for Shoreham-Wading River. Wukta along the wings. And he'll win this face-off, the first one today, for Garden City. Garden City's offense averaging about 10 per game. And a little hiccup, of course, last game only scoring 4, but this is a very patient offense. Kind of the same keys for this besides the X. They want to slow down the tempo of such a quick offensive team that the Wildcats have on the field. Saw the same thing against Manhasset in the Woodstick Classic. And then once they fell from behind, it was kind of tough for them to battle back in that game. Manhasset's one of the best offensive groups on the island. As Basile looks for Atkinson along the near wing. Works into the alley and back out to Keating straight away. Kyle Steinbach comes back out on the field. Steinbach is part of the second midfield, really the 4th guy of that first midfield unit. The junior is committed to Maryland. He plays catch with Atkinson, now far side for Finn Gibbons, a returning player and 2-year starter. Atkinson, the bounce shot, goes up and over the cage. Gibbons cradles behind the net, met there by Kyle Hakens, a senior who's going to MIT. Very bright, exceptional player. Steinbach stepped down from the slot, will miss wide right. So lengthy possession here for Garden City as they trail by 1. One of the big injuries so far, and a big loss on the defensive end. As Atkinson this time will grip and rip up high. For Shoreham-Wading River is Jack Schertzer. The freshman committed to Ohio State and started as an 8th grader. One of the co-rookie of the year, along with his teammate Xavier Arline. That has been a loss for a couple of games and started the season sick. Someone they wanted to really come back. Don't want to rush him either. Still some time left in this regular season. And meanwhile, for Garden City, this is their last non-league game. They'll have Wantagh up next before the playoffs will start. This is important for them to get a groove back after a couple of hiccups. And the Gibbons pass looking for Keating goes high and wide left. Chris Sheehan back in his own end. It's the netminder De Palma. Now headman's on the near wing for Higgins. Up through the middle of the field, it's Mirabel, the junior. And a timeout was called by Mike Taylor. 4 minutes, 30 seconds to go here in the first quarter. A 2-1 lead for Shoreham-Wading River on the Chris Gray goal. Just 5 seconds after the Basile equalizer here in the first quarter. The head coach for 3 seasons, Mike Taylor, on the far side. Brought Dowling to a couple of national championships, was an All-American in his time when he played for the Golden Lions back in the early 90s, and took over this program 2 years ago. And it is remarkable what Shoreham-Wading River has done over the last few seasons. Going back even further past Mike Taylor, the last 5 years, from 2013 to the present, we mentioned about their last 7 losses by 1 goal. Well, 12 of their 15 losses have been by a goal. And 7 of those 15 have come in overtime. It's just remarkable when you look at it. In 2014, where 5 of the 8 were by a goal. It's the only one where, the only season, really, when you look at it, that it wasn't more than a 2-goal affair. 3 of their prior 4 playoff eliminations have been by a goal. Last year in New York State semifinal, after an 18-3 season, and defeated Yorktown 7-6, and lost to Yorktown 7-6 in that semi after beating Garden City and Sayville to get themselves to that point. This is a different group. Again, because they are younger, they lost some senior leadership and they lost some key pieces. John Constant, who had 60 points last year, is up at Marist. Jason Curran, 2-year starter at Brown. And that's where Sean Halpin, number 30, who's down low, was kind of stuck behind him. One guy who wasn't stuck, moving down the left side, Colin Flannery, a senior who shoots it on cage, and Teddy Dolan makes his first stop. Trouble in their own end. Gormley scoops it up back to the cage. That has been, I don't want to say an area of weakness, but definitely an area that was unstable at points. You have 2 good goalies in Dolan and Mueller, and now you're just running that hot hand. And they have split time over the last few games. A timeout will be called here by Garden City as Steve Fennell wants to talk it over with his group, and there is the 11th year head coach. Only the 4th coach in one of the oldest programs on the island. Took over in 2007 for his former head coach, Doc Doherty, who was there for more than 3 decades. When he played, was a all-conference player, all-state linebacker, played at Duke. Coached under Mike Pressler, who was now at Bryant when he was at Duke at that time. And since then, 8 Nassau County championships in his prior 10 years. 4 times he's won a Long Island title from 2010 to 2013. 2 state championships as well, including the 7 straight Nassau County titles from 07 to 13, which is part of 8 straight for that program. And he just knows what it means to play for Garden City lacrosse. Both of these communities, you can't say enough about them. Garden City, of course, you know, has always been a big lacrosse community, a big athletic community, no matter where they go. Same can be said for Shoreham-Wading River, as the 2 towns over here. But talking to Mike Taylor, and again, this is the 9th annual Laxalt Cancer event. They raised more than $70,000 last year for the young children, as many have made their way out here to Shoreham for such a really nice day. It's turned out to be a nice day despite all the rain that we've had over the weekend. But it has worked out pretty well. A little bit of wind, not enough where it's really an issue for anybody. This is, of course, an event that year after year they continue to run, continue to grow, and just shows you the tight bond of the SWR community. Garden City from right to left. Here's Keating, hands free to the slot, and fires a shot up high. It's 2-2. Lou Keating, 21st of the season. So with under 3 minutes to play, Luke Keating, a senior who's headed to Franklin and Marshall. Finished really well at the end of 2016 and picked up exactly where he left off. Guy who last year finished his season with 20 points, 14 of them via the goal. Well, career-high numbers in his first year, in the first full year that he has been a starter. Back to the X. Kyle Steinbach's going to take this face-off for Garden City. But procedure against Shoreham-Wading River. Joe Miller will hustle off after taking only a couple of losses here. And we'll see probably three different guys: Kieran Gunn, Justin Coppola, and then Steinbach is the third face-off man who has rotated through for Garden City this year. Important late possession for GC, by the way, who has not led in this contest. They have tied it twice. Gibbons, the senior, headed to Brown next year. And now Steinbach, the future Terrapin, puts on a second gear. Pass goes wide of Sean Coughlin. Still scooped up behind the net. Basile back to the point. Steinbach, and it bounces to the cage as De Palma makes a body save. The transition game. Cassidy. He'll stay on the field, number 21 most likely, and not often you see a Pole stay on the field for an offensive set, but he's pretty good out there and stands right in that slot. Cassidy has had 7 points over his last 4 games. Quintanilla will cradle up high. Cassidy will come off this time. Behind the cage, here's Arline. Chris Gray. Arline to Gray. That's been a connection for 2 years. It's 3-2 Shoreham. So Gray gets his second of the game. Arline his second assist as well. And with just 1 minute and 21 seconds left here in the quarter, a goal about 1.5 minutes apart, a little more than, gives the Wildcats the lead back. Joe Miller, clean win as he puts it right in his mesh. So with $1:15 left here in an opening first, they have the lead as well. And they'll look to add on to that before the second quarter. Cassidy hustles off. So Cairo, Bowden will man this midfield with Quintanilla. And then the 3 attackers in Gray, Arline, and Halpin. This team has been pretty calm over the last few games, and in the losses, they want to play a 4-quarter game. That's something they have not done yet. Those losses against East Islip and ESM were because they struggled in 1 quarter. And both of those were bigger, physical teams that are seniors. And again, we have a lot of young faces out there, including this freshman. It is tough, but he is cool under pressure as Arline comes inside and shoots from his knees, just missing wide left. Boy, that is why he is going to UNC in a few years' time and why he had such a really good middle school 8th grade year on the varsity level. 7 seconds to play. Yaboa Cody to Atkinson. 2 seconds. Throws it towards the net, misses wide right, and that's the end of the opening 12. So, Garden City has tied up the game a couple of times, but Shoreham-Wading River continuing to respond. They hold a 3-2 lead going into the second frame. It's the 9th annual Lax Out Cancer Day right here on News 12 Varsity.
You watch because it's your home, your school, your team, because it's your brother, sister, daughter, and son. Because you love the can you believe it, did you see that? And the oh my goodness, what a win moments. So yeah, you watch. Never miss a moment. Download the News 12 Varsity app today.
Busy day here on News 12 Varsity, part of a triple header we have for you. This is the one that starts it off. Top 20 battle, and of course a day that means so much more than what's on the field. The 9th annual Lax Out Cancer. But later on today at 4 o'clock, Reeves Rock, another very important game with a big meeting. Manhasset and Chaminade, two top 10 teams, play for Jimmy Reagan, who was a Chaminade guy and from Manhasset. And of course, that number 19 means so much in the Chaminade program. DeLear is the guy who wears it this year. It'll be a 4 o'clock. Matt Shortus has the action. And then New Canaan out of Connecticut will come down and visit St. Anthony's over in Huntington. Dave Resnick will be out there as they'll play actually on the front field today. A different field for them, Jim Metzger Field. And that should be an excellent showing. St. Anthony's looking to get back from that loss against Darien. Number 1 team in our tri-state poll, and that, of course, will be out every Tuesday night. Jimmy Cavallo and the entire crew will break it down as the top 20 show. And I don't expect number 1 to change. Saw Darien this other day, and I know everyone's obviously keeping an eye on them. 42 straight wins after defeating St. Anthony's. It might be one of the best Ds you will see in the country. They were a tough time. Shoreham-Wading River wears the pink jerseys today from right to left. Here's Gray. Already has 2 goals. Gets popped loose on a good play from Phil Puccio, who was one of their main takeaway guys. Still battling for it back in their own real estate, and Tim Gormley will scoop it up. Teddy Dolan still mans the goal to our left. Andrew DePalma to our right for Shoreham-Wading River. Gray has 2 goals, the 2-1 goal and 3-2. Quintanilla started the game. A minute and 13 in with his tally. Basile and Keating, the Garden City goal scorers, as that will pop right off of Basile and go out of play. Turnovers and unforced turnovers. That has kind of plagued Garden City over the last few games especially. As of right now, Steve Finelli even saying things just need to click a little bit more. You need it on both sides of the field. Timeout was called by the Wildcats. So very early here in the second quarter. So they brought the ball off midfield. They will talk things over. Again, with this 9th annual Lax Out Cancer, mentioned about the money they raised last year. Well, this year, it's for 4 young children who unfortunately have not been dealt the best cards right now, but they are all right now in progress of getting better. Grayson, Alexa, Hannah, and Jackson. Jackson's the only one who's not here right now, currently having a bone marrow transplant. But before the game, we saw some of the sights, and really it was just a very nice opening event where the teams came out right along to the center SWR logo. And nice applause for all the recipients for this year and even ones from last year. But talking about it with Mike Taylor, and he has said it himself. I mean, just this Lax Out Cancer event, when the second and third one really started, they would play it at Dowling. So when he was an assistant coach, he was still involved with it and around that. But he was so amazed when he came over 3 years ago as the head coach of just this community and really what it's about. And sometimes small communities, you kind of get to know each other a little bit better. You get a chance to have more of a feeling for one another. And that's what the Shoreham and Wading River communities have done over the years. Of course, tragedy a couple of years ago with Tom Quintanilla, as the bust sits actually to the right of this press box in his jersey 54 right below us. Tommy Tuff has always been a big storyline. It's Kevin, of course, out there on the field. And just shows you what the Shoreham Wading River community is all about. You ask them to put something together and try and help others, and they are there. It's very impressive. And a real nice event today out here on the North Shore of Suffolk County. Cairo finds Quintanilla, who nets his second. A 2-goal lead for Shoreham Wading River.
So nice pass from Cairo. He'll get the assist. And Quintanilla, his 27th of the season. A guy who has a knack for scoring big goals in the past, and Garden City knows that. He had the tying and game-winning goal in the Comstock and Sayville game, the quarter and semifinals, and then in the Long Island Championship against Garden City, had 4 goals and 5 points. So the goal comes 2 minutes and 26 seconds into the second. Another procedure against Garden City, and they have had a tough time at the X today. Number 33 should be Ryan Heater out there as part of the second midfield. Again, these pink jerseys, not the same numbers, so a little confusion throughout. We apologize. It's Garden City forcing a turnover. Gibbons, far goal line extended. Coughlin will survey. Back to Basile. Gibbons is up at the point now. He'll cradle and work from straight away. A 2-year starter who was one of their lefties, battled an injury late last year. Wasn't part of those championship games, but a very important part of this group. As Basile flips it over to Wukta along the near wing. Trailing by 2 now for the first time today. Yabota Cody, Wukta, and Gibbons are manning the points. Keating sets a screen for Gibbons. Met there on a pretty good slide by Joe Miller. Back below the goal line. Basile to Coughlin. Pump fakes. Sean Coughlin, the senior with 22 on the year. Did not score last games. They only put up 4 in the contest, and 2 of them came from Jamie Atkinson. Also was the only game this season that Basile didn't have a point. So rare to see. Gibbons matched up against Heating. And Heater's pretty strong defensive play. Forces a turnover on the other side by Danny Cassidy. And now a flag on the field. So Ryan Heater gets the applause from the fans here at Shoreham-Wading River. Draws a penalty. Be a 1-minute penalty to Luke Keating. So first time we'll see the EMO today. Six on 5 lacrosse. Quintanilla mans the point, along with Joe Miller and Sean Halpin along the wings. Cairo and Arline. Our goal line extended in gray behind the net. Playing catch at the point. Quintanilla to Miller. Mishandles and scoops it back up into the cross. Joe Miller is such a good offensive player that sometimes loses. They want to save him. They don't want to, of course, save that guy too much. As Sean Halpin rips a shot right off the carpet for his 28th of the season. It's a man-up tally and a 3-goal lead. So it's 6:45 left here in the half. 3 unanswered goals by Shoreham-Wading River. Sean Halpin, who has been really good as of late. 10 goals over his last 3 games. Another win at the faceoff X. Chris Sheehan comes across. Cassidy and Sheehan. Sheehan! A transition tally off another faceoff win. It is 6-3. That's Sheehan's first goal of the year. And Cassidy, despite the fact using that long ball, he has been really good as of late. 8th point over his last now 5 games, and Steve Fennell has seen enough. He'll call a timeout for Garden City as they trail by 3. Shoreham-Wading River coming off a couple of wins here, and they have rattled off since those back-to-back losses. 9 consecutive victories, and 2 of them, they needed overtime. At Pleasantville, it was an OT win, 12-11, and then the Comswag game, 11-10 in double OT. Chris Gray and Xavier Arline with 2 game-winning goal scorers for them. And it's so tough when you have 2 guys at the kind of offensive firepower that Shoreham-Wading River has. They did have to go down to C this year. And again, that's all school size, etc. So going down to C, there's a lot of different teams out there. And right now, Islip, one of their 2 losses was to Shoreham-Wading River. They're probably one of the biggest surprises, at least in Suffolk C, and trying to get to that next level. But there are some other, solid squads you have to look out for. Mount Sinai, they're 10-3. It will be interesting once you hit playoff time in just a couple of weeks. I think there's no question Shoreham-Wading River remains and continues to be the favorite. And for a program that uses a lot of underclassmen, those underclassmen play like seniors. Miller and Steinbach. Garden City has used all 3 of their face-off guys. Joe Miller last game, 18 of 23 at the X. He's only lost a few today. A 4-goal advantage. Steinbach with the win. Here's Wukta. Cuts to the middle of the field. Coughlin shoots, and it trickles towards the net. De Palma was able to scoop it up with the stick. Headman up the middle for Danny Cassidy. A Stony Brook commit. Will gallop up the middle of the field. Here comes the pull. Watch out. Gets leveled right across the middle by Phil Puccio. Clean play. As the hitting has picked up, Arline gets taken down. But this one will be a push against Puccio. SWR with the ball. Want to see a little more intensity, obviously, from Garden City. And with 4 unanswered goals, they just need a stop here. One of them has been on the man up, and that was the Halpin tally. Arline working below the goal line. Met there by Colin Hart, the sophomore. Here's Arline, takes a bump, tries to dodge towards the cage. Hart doesn't let him. A sophomore against a freshman, but definitely a big size difference. Over and back will give Garden City the ball. Gibbons works down the near alley. Mirabel stays with him the whole way and then comes back out to the slot to defend as Tyler Wukta will work out in the midfield. Wukta, your do-it-all guy for this group. You tell him to run through fire, he will. Tell him to run through a wall, he will, and carry his team behind him. The junior cradles. It's met there by Cairo and will drop off. It's a high five from Jamie Atkinson, who just joins this first midfield group. Atkinson, one of the captains. As Keating surveys. Gibbons, bounce shot right off the stick of De Palma. Hit him right in the chest. GC still with the ball. Good defense. Avoids a shot to be taken by Steinbeck. That was Chris Sheehan who was right on top of him. Sheehan is a short stick, but can stay with almost anybody. Keating slips behind the cage. Back to Gibbons along the wing. Under 4 minutes to play in the half. And Garden City has not scored since there was under 3 minutes to go. Inside, and Coughlin got denied. Garden City has not scored in more than 10 minutes. And Shoreham-Wading River, with stout defense and turning it into offense, has been the difference. Jarred loose in the midfield, trying to reach in is Puccio. He'll come away with the ball. And Phil Puccio, the 3-year starter, will drop it for Atkinson. Coughlin gets hacked at a few times in that far alley. I think for Garden City, which again is a very patient offense, scoring is really spread out with this group. You just need to get one past De Palma to feel better. As there'll be a flag on this play. So free possession for GC. Gibbons skips a pass. He'll go out of play, and we'll have a man up coming for Garden City the first time today. "30-second penalty for a hold." Assessed to James Mirabel, the starting close defender. So first time, Garden City will play with the man up. And a good time as well, as they need a tally. Kieran Gunn to Atkinson. And Jamie cashes in with the man up tally. Their first goal in 10 minutes and 30 seconds exactly. So Atkinson assisted by Gunn. Gets Garden City back on the board to a 3-goal contest late in the second quarter. Steinbeck and Miller. Ball sits right on that W of the SWR logo. Sheehan throws a bump. Miller tries to swat at it. Gets deflected out of play. Official says Shoreham ball. So the Wildcats will move from right to left. Here's Sheehan, scored his first goal of the season today, number 23. Quintanilla. He's got a couple of tallies. A future UMass Minuteman. Heater out in the midfield. We'll play catch with Sean Halpin. Under 2 minutes to go here in the half, and Shoreham-Wading River looking to grab that tally back. There were losses last year, and they had just 3 of them, besides the Yorktown loss. It's Quintanilla, time to fire, goes 5-hole. What a feed from Gray to Quintanilla, who gets a first half hat trick. What a nifty pass that was. Quintanilla had all day to look at the cage, staring down Teddy Dolan. So less than a minute later, a 4-goal lead returns for the home team. Steinbeck, clean win. Works along the near sideline, and Gibbons finds Basile. JP Basile. Pocket to Coughlin, who pump fakes. Hits Steinbeck. 1:20 to go. Near goal line, Gibbons dodges towards the net, gets free, tries to dump it in, couldn't get the shot off as he was swarmed by pink jerseys all around. Loose in the midfield, couldn't be scooped up yet by Yeboah Cody. And now this will be a penalty. As Tim Gormley was down, he got hit right on the side. And it seems Garden City will be heading back on the man up. So the penalty goes to James Mirabel. He has both penalties today. 1 for 1 in this quarter alone. Is Garden City looking to get it back to a 3-goal contest. And they'll have 59 seconds to work with in the quarter. Atkinson, Basile works up high, Steinbeck. That's Kieran Gunn, check that, as Atkinson tries to reach for the bottom left corner. Gibbons, south of the cage, Gunn to the middle, Atkinson finishes. Jamie Atkinson, 2 man-up goals here in the second frame. It's a 3-goal contest with 41 ticks to play here in the quarter. So 2 for 2 on the man up. And the Princeton-bound Jamie Atkinson, who's been a first midfield guy since his sophomore year. 4-year varsity player. He's scored plenty of those in the past. 3rd straight game, he's netted 2 goals in a contest. Steinbeck and Miller pops loose into Garden City Real Estate. Rolls out to the near sideline. GC ball with a little more than a half minute to play in a half. Garden City can tack on a quick one here, bring it back to a 2-goal contest. Grab that momentum going into the 3rd quarter. Colin Hart finds Atkinson. Blows past a couple of short sticks and runs on the far side of the field. Atkinson from Basile. What a goal by Jamie. He has 3 goals here in the quarter. It's back to a 2-goal game. So 24 seconds apart. Jamie Atkinson tallies 2. He has 21 on the season now. Bacafola to Yeboah Cody. Drops it off. Coughlin downstairs. Basile rips it just wide. Yeboah Cody with a backhand attempt. That just misses. 6 seconds to go. Basile behind the net. Gibbons in front. Atkinson couldn't get it off. And that is the end of a very entertaining second quarter. So the Trojans storm back and bring it to a 2-goal contest. A little bit of momentum for them as well. But really the real story of that first half for Shoreham-Wading River the offensive attack. They led as much as 4. It's now down to 2. 7-5 here at halftime. The 9th annual Lax Out Cancer, only on News 12 Varsity.
It's the reason we keep watching, because of underdogs, crazy comebacks, and the last-minute heroics. Because we love it all, the face-offs, the hits, the big-time goals. Because winning never, ever gets old. So, we keep watching anywhere we can. Never miss a moment. Download the News 12 Varsity app today.
Welcome back to News 12 Varsity. Dan Savarino with you. Thanks so much for joining us. It's a 7-5 lead for Shoreham-Wading River. They have led the entire way, the home team, over Garden City. GC from right to left. In goal now to our right, Eric Mueller. 2 saves last game, 48 on the season. A little bit different, he's a righty compared to the lefty in Teddy Dolan, who started the first half. Goal to our left, it's Andrew DePalma, the senior, and we're underway as Steinbach has been the only guy, actually, to get to Joe Miller today at the faceoff X. So he wins one to start it off, and Garden City grabs some of the momentum late in that second quarter especially. Atkinson had all 3 goals for GC in the second frame. The first one came on the man up, which was their first goal in more than 10.5 minutes of game time. Leading the way today, Kuntanella has 3, Atkinson has 3 for Garden City. Chris Gray has 2 goals and an assist for the hometown Shoreham-Wading River Wildcats. Sven Gibbons will move down to Basile. JP surveys the land, gets chopped at a couple times. In front, Keating up high, and maybe the best stop today from Andrew DePalma. Keating, he scored the second tally for Garden City. As he crosses the field, Atkinson, the bouncer. It rolls just outside of the crease, and DePalma will scoop it up with the stick. So Shoreham-Wading River getting peppered with shots here to start the third. And again, 2 goals in the last minute by Atkinson, including an opportunity in the last 10 seconds, which would have brought it back to a 1-goal game if they scored. Garden City is tied up to score twice. That was both in the first. And then 4 unanswered goals from the first to the second quarter is what extended the lead to 4. The largest lead today reached twice by Shoreham-Wading River. Wearing the pink jerseys today for the 9th annual Lax Out Cancer as Keating works along the wing. Atkinson zips a pass to the far side. Gibbons. Lefty shot by Gibbons, swallowed up by the D. Kuntanella flying over to battle, kicked ahead, and Atkinson gets tripped up, taken out of play right in front of the Shoreham-Wading River bench. There is also a flag. So for the third time today, Garden City will head on the man up, where they are 2 for 2. Atkinson has both of those goals. It will be a 30-second push against Chris Sheehan, the D-Mini. So 6-on-5 lacrosse to begin the third frame. Kieran Gunn will start with the ball. He's worked now with this first midfield unit on the EMO. But how about JP Basile? Hands-free, grips and rips upstairs. 3 for 3 on the man up. And it's a 1-goal contest. The Duke-bound JP Basile. Second goal today. And it comes 2:10 into the third. Well, JP leading scorer last year and 3 goals last year in the finals against Manhasset as well. Multiple points now in all but 2 games this season. Tough matchup for so many because of his size and strength. And this attack of Garden City has been together now 2 full years. The difference, though, right now in this game has been at the X. And Kyle Steinbach has been the difference. Crossfield pass, Coughlin, tie game. 4 unanswered goals. Sean Coughlin adds to the party. We're all knotted up at 7-7. Eight seconds apart. Good play from the wings. Yabo Cody, Steinbach, and company. Joe Miller was dominant back in that first quarter. Took Kieran Gunn out of this game, at least at the faceoff X. Kyle Steinbach has been a difference maker, an X factor at the X. Transition, Wukta, Gibbons. Garden City with their first lead today. Three goals in 16 seconds. What a turnaround here for Garden City, and they are feeling it on that bench. You felt the momentum start to swing late in the quarter. Quintanilla was able to get that tally back, but once Atkinson scored on the man up, his second, with 41 seconds left, things just started to change here for the Trojans. Procedure will be called against Steinbach, so a win here from Miller and the Shoreham-Wading River offense, which is so explosive, trailing for the first time today. Kyle Bowden out in the midfield and met by Matt Granville. Granville used to covering guys, especially on the gridiron, as Bowden shot right into the mesh of Eric Mueller, his first save. And he just started the second half. Big stop as Wukta goes end to end. Those are the kind of stops that weren't being made early on. Again, turnovers, ground balls, but really the X were the big keys today for both of these teams. Basile, far goal line extended, switches back to the right hand. Matched up with Kyle Higgins. That has been the matchup all day. Wukta comes off, and here comes Kieran Gunn, who is now working with the first midfield unit. Gunn is a lefty, which provides more space on the field, so now you have a couple lefties out there with Gibbons. As Basile, crossfield pass, Finn Gibbons. Six unanswered goals, 2-goal lead for Garden City. And Gibbons has back-to-back tallies. This one on a beautiful skip pass from J.P. Basile. So in the first 4 minutes and 11 seconds of the third quarter, and if you go back even further to that, the last 4 minutes and 52 seconds of this game, it's a 6-0 run by Garden City. Swiped at in the midfield. Cassidy floats it back to his own end, but Gibbons has the lacrosse ball. Straight away, Steinbach with a sidearm attempt. De Palma into the mesh. The left side of this field, you could hear a pin drop. Shoreham-Wading River looking to get back on the scoreboard as Kevin Quintanilla, who netted 3 back in that half, including the last tally. He's looking for Halpin as he was dodging towards the net. Far side of the field. Chris Gray, he's got 2 goals and an assist. Gray shoots on the run, got deflected off the body of Phil Puccio, the big, stout defender. Xavier Arline, so quick behind the goal line. And as a freshman for him, much different now, as he's actually going to the high school, doesn't need to get a ride as an 8th grader anymore. All of his friends from his grade are now in the school with him. What an adjustment he has made. You can see more confidence from the young man as a freshman and a second-year starter. As Quintanilla, the senior, will move to his left and has the screen set by Joe Miller. Steve Fennell, head coach from GC, said it to me before the game. We need it from both ends of the field. Not just the offense, not just the defense. And has felt they had a pretty good D. That's off the bar. It's Colin Flannery missing by inches. It bounced right off the top of the crossbar. And Tyler Wukda from right to left hits the trailer and Atkinson. Atkinson doesn't reach the net. Fighting for it, far goal line. And picked up by Bacafola. The long pole, who was moved up on the play. Timeout, Garden City. They are feeling it on that Trojan sideline. Again, every Monday night, Stick Check with Jimmy Cavallo will bring you around the tri-state area. You'll see highlights of all the great games that we have here on News 12 Varsity over the weekend. Boy, this last week has been a lot of fun. Today, a couple of more games on the docket. At 4 o'clock, face-off should be just in about 30 minutes or so. Matt Shortis will be out there at Chaminade for Reeves Rock. Manhasset Chaminade, number 2 in our poll right now, are the Flyers against Manhasset, a team that, of course, Garden City is very, very familiar with. That'll be a 4 o'clock affair, and then at 5, New Canaan from Connecticut making their trip down past the Long Island Sound to the North Shore of Long Island. They'll visit St. Anthony. That's a 5 o'clock start. Only on News 12 Varsity. So 4 goals here in the quarter, 6 unanswered, and 7 of the last 8 in this game have been scored by Garden City. A team that was coming off a 4-3 double overtime win. You kind of felt the effects from the Woodstick Classic carry over. But this team overall, again defensively, entering into this game, they have given up just 10 goals against in the last 3 games not called Manhasset. Manhasset, they surrendered 10, but they have given up just 10 in the prior 3. 7 today against another top offense, and it would be a very good test. Both of these schools knew it would be a good test before playoff time. And that's why Mike Taylor scheduled this game so late in the season. Felt it would be the perfect opportunity, just as the guys are rolling, feel that playoff atmosphere. You know you're going to get a good game. J.P. Basile has had a good game. Is out to the point. Cole Dutton will come out. Number 11. Crossfield pass. Gunn with the quick stick from Basile. Make it 7 unanswered goals by Garden City. Kieran Gunn, the senior, will be rocking green next year for Dartmouth. One of the 3 Ivy League guys on this roster. Took a beautiful pass from Basile, who has really done it all today. So with 5:02 left in the third, a 3-goal lead. Steinbach near side of the field, but he deflected it out of play. Chris Gray cradles the ball in his cross. A guy who really last year, you can name a lot of the best players on the island. He draws a penalty now. Last year, he had 101 points, which led Long Island in points and in goals. He was tied for points, actually, with Tom McPartland from Farmingdale, graduated last year, but had more points and goals than guys like Mac O'Keefe, who was one of the top scorers in all of Division I lacrosse, by the way, over at Penn State. The former Syosset guy. More than Bayshore's Brennan O'Neill, who was an 8th grader, was at Bayshore, now in St. Anthony's. Ian Laviano, Manhasset Jack Kehoe. I mean, the name goes on and on. You know these names if you're a Long Island lacrosse person. And he had more than all of them. Phil Puccio in the box for a minute. 1 for 1 on the EMO is Shoreham-Wading River, who has not scored since 1 minute and 36 seconds left on the Cuntanella tally in the second frame. So 6 on 5 here for 60 seconds. Cuntanella rips it up high. He's got his 4th. So back to a 2-goal game, and they really needed that one. Eight and a half minutes between both Wildcat goals. Both teams perfect also on the man up. Combined 5 for 5 procedure against Jake Naso, the freshman, who's BU bound. Wouldn't have been a surprise you saw him today. He's their other face-off guy, and against West Babylon, he was 22 of 25. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Naso at the X now, with Steinbeck being so dominant late in the second quarter and all of the third frame. So the Trojans trying to do what the Wildcats did to them. Once they gave up a goal, they were able to respond. That's what got them to a 4-goal lead twice. Basile to Coughlin in the near alley, and Atkinson will man the point. Steinbeck comes off as Cole Dutton now on the field, number 11, the junior. Atkinson and Finn Gibbons. Basile, high steps, near goal line extended, weaves inside, and the shot goes wide right. JP just so athletic, but again, he's big and he's strong, and he's used to making those moves plenty of times. Gibbons from the point. Atkinson receives the high pass, falls down, and then is swarmed by Chris Sheehan. Moves to his left hand and moves the ball off. Pocket to pocket now behind the cage and into the near alley as Coughlin and Basile will play catch. Met by Higgins once again. Far alley. Here's Gibbons. Kessel was able to hedge that screen. The ball still moving around the perimeter. To the point. Atkinson stepped down and missed wide. Dutton gets swarmed and taken down. Now Gibbons behind the cage. Couple of poke checks, moves to Atkinson. Center point, Coughlin with 1:40 remaining here in the third. Again, Garden City JV with a huge victory over Shoreham-Wading River's underclassmen in the first game before. Miller Place and Bellport will play after this, as a stall warning is now on for the first time today. Coughlin. And Basile looks up at the clock. Sean works behind the cage. Still with his stall warning on. Here comes Basile. As he looks to start to dodge towards the net. He'll go south of the goal with a half minute to play. Basile in front, trying the quick stick with Coughlin. Loose on the carpet, scooped back up. Atkinson downstairs, Keating fakes and scores. Huge ground ball and even better ball movement cashed in by Luke Keating. It's 11-8. Atkinson will end up getting the assist. So a 3-goal lead returns in a 6-goal third quarter. Steinbach slides it to the far side by the Shoreham-Wading River sideline. Still 10 seconds as Sheehan has it in his own end. A bounce pass up the middle. Cassidy with 5 seconds. Inside, Gray shoots, huge stop by Eric Mueller. The sophomore stonewalls one of the top goal scorers on the island just as the third quarter expires. 11-8, big quarter from Garden City as they outscored SWR 6-1. We'll be back with an exciting fourth frame here at the 9th annual Lax Out Cancer, only on News 12 Varsity.
You watch because it's your home, your school, your team, because it's your brother, sister, daughter, and son. Because you love the "can you believe it, did you see that?" and the "oh my goodness, what a win" moments. So yeah, you watch. Never miss a moment. Download the News 12 Varsity app today.
Here at Shoreham-Wading River High School, it is Garden City, the visitors, number 14 in our poll, who have a lead over the number 17 Wildcats. Dan Savarino, thanks for joining us. Josh Grebsey upstairs, our producer. A day that has seen plenty. And to our right, that's where everything is going on. Donations are being made here at Lax Out Cancer. Face painting by the girls team. We've had promotions all throughout. There's food out there, bake sales. Just a great day overall here at Shoreham. We couldn't have asked for a nicer day as well, as it was raining all yesterday, even overnight, but nothing but blue skies and a sunny day here in Shoreham. Down to the face-off X, where Steinbach will take it against Joe Miller for SWR, who wears the pink uniforms today from right to left. De Palma in goal to our right, to our left, starting the fourth quarter, it's Eric Mueller. He started the second half and made a huge stop against Chris Gray just as the time expired in the third. Garden City outscored Shoreham 6-1 in the third quarter on 7 unanswered goals. Gibbons had 2 in the third frame. Coughlin had 1, Basile had 1, and Keating also had 1. Cuntanella netted his 4th today. Cuntanella moves to his left, gets the slide, and feeds back to Flannery. Rolls right off a check and gets looked on, scores. Colin Flannery had the short stick matchup, and a VMI commit gets his 3rd of the season. It's back to a 2-goal game. So exactly the kind of start you want to see if you're Shoreham-Wading River. Just 48 seconds into the fourth. Now remember, to start this game, Joe Miller was dominant at the face-off X. And when I say dominant, I mean he lost maybe 1 or 2 total and just put Garden City on their heels. Since Steinbach has taken over, he was a difference. But now the Wildcats need to get more done from the wing play as they hack at the ball. Bacafola for Garden City. Tries to flip it ahead, but a timeout from Steve Fennell right before he crossed inside the box. Garden City playing much better lacrosse here late in the second quarter and, of course, all of the third. This will be the fourth time they've met in the last few years. Garden City won back on this field in 2012. It's the last time they played here at Shoreham-Wading River High School. In 2013, it was an overtime win for GC on their home turf. And then last year's Long Island Championship game, an 8-6 victory for the Wildcats and bringing them back up to a state championship where they lost in the semifinals to Yorktown. These two groups, they do have experience on the fields and plenty of guys who have been through it all. It's a big test for Shoreham, especially with a team that, again, did lose some senior leadership from last year and had some younger guys out there. They're playing a much more veteran team from Garden City who is just trying to figure some things out late in the season because things were rolling for a while, still trying to find that identity for them. Usually this late in the year, that's not what you want to be saying at this point, but they still are. And luckily for them, they have enough firepower that with one league game left against Wantagh, they can get through the Warriors, who also are in their conference. And they might be able to make a strong push to get themselves back to the Nassau County Championship game at Hofstra University. A win today would get them back to those ways. After the 4-3 win last game against Hewlett. Again, not the strongest 4 quarters of lacrosse you want to see. And you want to talk about not playing a full 4 quarters yet. As Mike Taylor was saying to me the other day on the phone, he said we still haven't done that this season. And in the 2 losses we had to East Islip and ESM, we haven't played 4 quarters. The third quarter we struggled, we're held out. Same thing happened today. A third quarter where they got outscored by 5, and that's why they're now trailing. As Keating will take it in the far alley. Puts on a second gear, slows down, now shifts back up. Match behind the cage. Basile at the point. Atkinson, near wing. Here's Gibbons. He had 2 in the third frame. Atkinson receives back at center point. Jamie had 3 goals back in that first half. Basile on the wing. Gibbons to Keating. Basile rips it wide right. Both teams so well coached. 2 of the very great minds in high school boys lacrosse. No question about that. Basile will pump fake. He's got the short stick matchup. Shocked he hasn't taken it yet against Bowden. Now he will. Dodges towards the net. Up high. Ball movement. Down to the near side, but Cole Dutton will turn it over as Chris Sheehan gallops up the near sideline. Sheehan netted his first goal of the season before. Successful clear for Shoreham-Wading River. And now trailing by 2, they look to mount this comeback. Joe Miller, Colin Flannery, and Kevin Cuntanella will round out this midfield unit with Arline, Halpin, and Chris Gray down low. Flannery just scored the last goal for the Wildcats. Less than a minute into the 4th frame. Here he's matched up with Cole Dutton. Moves to his left. Gets taken down by Atkinson. There is a flag. Jamie Atkinson tried to throw his arms up, saying, I didn't touch him, I didn't do anything, but it looks like he'll be heading off. 30-second penalty, and again, both teams have been perfect on the man up. 2 for 2 on the EMO for Shoreham-Wading River. And the lone goal they scored in the third frame was that Quintanilla man up tally with 4:04 to go. Chance to bring it back to a one-goal contest, something we haven't been at since it was 8-7. Kevin Quintanilla quarterbacking his first midfield unit as expected. Takes it from 15 yards out. Chris Gray. Gray pump fakes our line, near goal line extended. We haven't seen him dodge the cage much today. As Gray rips a shot to the back twine. 3 for 3 on the man up. It's a one-goal game. There's the hat trick for Chris Gray. Both teams a combined 6 for 6 on EMOs. So at 4:33 of the fourth quarter, the leading scorer in all of Suffolk County nets his 64th of the season. Bacafola along the wings. The sophomore with an excellent play to get it into his long pole. Coughlin taken down right along the restraining line, no call. Here comes Sheehan from right to left. Chris Gray trailing by 1. They'll want to get the right personnel on. Try and go inside to Cassidy, who is manhandled and lost the long stick. Colin Hart, the sophomore, to Coughlin on the transition. Puts on the brakes, back out to the midfield for Atkinson. Holding on to this one-goal lead. We've had a classic here. The 9th annual Laxalt Cancer. Gibbons grabs the 2 tally advantage back. Basile to Gibbons right along the crease and tiptoed right behind the D. Another assist from J.P. Basile. So after Gray made it a one-goal game, just a minute or two ago, with 6:33 left, Gibbons nets his 3rd of the half. Steinbeck and Miller. Cassidy. And Kessel, as soon as he crossed midfield, Mike Taylor will call a timeout. 6:22 to play here in the fourth. A 2-goal game at this point. And again, no surprise, even in games they are trailing, Mike Taylor's squad with another close game. You mentioned it back early on in the broadcast, where all 7 losses he's had as a head coach at Shoreham-Wading River has been by 1 tally. And this team, it's very rare they lose by more than 1. Right now they're down by 2. Looking to mount a comeback for a team that was up as much as 4. And that was back in the second quarter. Dan Savarino with you here. The 9th annual Laxalt Cancer, and of course more money being raised for the 4 young recipients who unfortunately are battling, and very brave what they have been able to do going through this. Grayson, Alexa, Hannah, and Jackson, and of course their faces are all around the building and all the signs. All different ages too. Grayson only 5 years old. Jackson is 10, who right now is going through treatment. At this point, he's the only one who is not here today. Alexa, a 14-year-old from Wading River, and Hannah, who just turned 1. All of them are really going through some really tough battles. And they are fighting along, and they are raising money. Well done again by the community out here at Shoreham-Wading River. Hoping to surpass their total of more than 70,000 a year ago. After the SWR timeout, they move from right to left with Flannery and Kuntanella manning the points here with Joe Miller right in the slot. Gray, Arline, and Halpin are down low. Check that actually. Instead of Halpin, it'll be Tim Cairo, who's far goal line extended. The junior is pretty new to varsity, first-year guy, number 2. Plays catch with a longtime player in Chris Gray. Cairo to Kuntanella, looking for 5. He has it. Kevin Kuntanella, 5th goal today. It's a 1-goal contest, less than 6 minutes to go. Kevin Kuntanella had 8 goals over his last 3. Make it 13. Now over his last 4. As Steinbeck loses his stick, but Bacafola moves back to his own real estate where Tim Gormley will headman a pass up the middle of the pitch for Yeboah Cody. Trevor Yeboah Cody to Finn Gibbons. And Gibbons had himself a really good second half, netting 3 goals thus far, including the lone goal for Garden City in the 4th quarter. Basile to Coughlin, and at center point, Yeboah Cody, Atkinson, and then Keating just returned to the field. It's about 5 minutes remaining in the game. Garden City looking to respond. Team that trailed most of this contest, and really all of the first half. They scored 2 goals in the last minute of the second frame. Yeboah Cody drops it off at center point. Here's Atkinson, grips and rips wide. Basile starts south of the cage. A future Blue Devil who will play for the great John Donowski. Basile, crossfield pass, tried to hit Yeboah Cody on the quick stick. Shoreham-Wading River ball. Again, the Wildcats have played in these tight games this season. They have been battle tested. They want to have these pressure games. This is exactly what Mike Taylor wanted when he scheduled this non-league affair. Bud wants to be on the winning side, of course. With 4 minutes left, they trail by a goal. Kuntanella down to the near sideline. Gray and Arline, pocket to pocket as they move it now to the point. Flannery has a goal today. Tim Cairo, that natural lefty, really opens up this field. That's why he's out there. Met by Yeboah Cody. Skip pass and too high. That's just a tough pass to make to begin with. If Gray was maybe a foot or 2 taller, he'd be able to bring that in easily. Wukta runs through traffic, averts it all. Hits Coughlin on the far sideline. John Coughlin, been a really good player from the last couple of years, mostly a finisher. Has one today. It was his 23rd. 3 minutes to go. Atkinson will hustle onto this field to round out the midfield. J.P. Basile as a couple of stick checks will jar the ball loose back to the midfield. Gathered up by Atkinson. Fires a bullet up high to Basile. Swims past the defender on the goal line. South of the cage. Here's Keating. Luke Keating. And Gibbons with 2:15 to go. Shoreham-Wading River trying to force a turnover, but at the same time, not make a costly mistake in a one-goal game. Stall warning is on as Gibbons, south of the cage. Met by Mirabel. Mirabel throws the body on him. Keating, near goal line extended. Shoots on a turnaround, and it's stopped by De Palma. Skied into the air on the far side and retrieved by Gibbons. 95 seconds to go. J.P. Basile, hounded by the stick, gets past one. Feeds Atkinson. Knocked loose by Quintanilla. Shoreham-Wading River ball with 1:15 to go and down by one. And a missed pass. Trying to find Mirabel down the near sideline. A timeout for Mike Taylor with 1:04 to go. Well, just a failed clear opportunity. And a pass just skied over the head of the long pole. And, of course, these highlights will be on Monday night's show of Stick Check, where Jimmy Cavallo brings it around to Tri-State. And I'm sure we have some top plays as well in this contest that are up for consideration on Wednesday night. As top plays every Wednesday, only on News 12 Varsity. Again, we'll have all playoff action in just a couple of weeks as we start to wind down on a very fun season of lacrosse. It seems like blink of an eye, we're already in May and talking about postseasons. And that's where both of these teams are headed very, very shortly. West Hampton Beach is next for Shoreham-Wading River. They would love to go in there with a 12-2 record. In order to do so, they have to get two past Eric Mueller. Mueller, the sophomore, started the second half and has kept Garden City in this game. Can't say it enough, the job at the X that Steinbach has done. Really turned the tide. For at one point, this was not looking good for Garden City at all. But the Trojans didn't need their wooden horse this time. They ran straight to the cage after some face-off wins, scoring 7 unanswered goals to take a 3-goal lead. They outscored Shoreham-Wading River 6-1 in the third frame. But here in the fourth, 3-1, the home team has that advantage. Yet they trail by a goal. Mueller up the middle of the field as Colin Hart, a nice pass on the money to Coughlin on the far side. 50 seconds to play. Has to keep it inside this box. Through a double team. Keating to Coughlin. Half a minute to go. J.P. Basile, a 3-year starter. Floats it over a double team to Keating. Knocked loose. Still not controlled. And they battle for a loose ball that rolls out. Shoreham-Wading River ball. 16 seconds to play. And they'll have to go the length of the field. Quintanilla to goal. With 12 seconds left. De Palma up the middle of the pitch. Finds Miller. Flips it over his head to Flannery. It bounces on the turf with 3 seconds left. A yard sale out there. And Garden City is going to come away with a comeback victory. The Trojans win 12-11. A huge second half performance by Garden City. Another 1-goal loss for Shoreham-Wading River, who just struggled back in that third frame. That was the difference. So Garden City will move to 11-3 on the season. They'll play Wantagh next before finishing up their regular season, and they'll try and bid for another Nassau County championship. Meanwhile, Shoreham-Wading River, all 3 losses this year by just a tally. All 8 losses under Mike Taylor by just a tally in his 3 years. Have a couple of games left before their playoffs will start. 12-11, the final score here at Laxalt Cancer. Garden City comes away with the win. We'll talk to J.P. Basile, the senior captain, in just a moment on News 12 Varsity.
It's the reason we keep watching, because of underdogs, crazy comebacks, and the last-minute heroics. Because we love it all. The face-offs, the hits, the big-time goals. Because winning never, ever gets old. So, we keep watching anywhere we can. Never miss a moment. Download the News 12 Varsity app today.
Go back to News 12 Varsity, 12-11 win for Garden City, and they come back down 4 goals in the second quarter. One of the reasons why, their captains, J.P. Basile, but really a team effort for you guys today. I mean, things started to change late in that second quarter. Kyle Steinbeck comes to the X, starts winning some face-offs there. How did things really turn around when you guys are down by 4?
Basically, Jack Avino set up a defensive plan to get the ball to our offense, and from there we looked for cutters. And that was what Coach Fennell said all along. They had a nice zone, but so we just looked for cutters, and that's how we ended up getting all our goals.
Jamie Atkinson tallying those 2 goals late in the second quarter, and now you're going into halftime, some momentum. What was said in the huddle going into the third?
Our coach Holman, he's our assistant coach, and he's the more optimistic coach around here, and he was kind of just getting us excited for the game. And since that swing, we came back, and eventually we scored, we had a 3 or 4-0 run, and that's how we got back in the game.
Well, that third quarter was huge. You outscored them 6-1 overall. I mean, things were just clicking all over the place. For this offense that has, for the most part, been together for some time now, especially the attack, how does that chemistry help for you guys?
Just we work together. We're all great friends, and basically, our chemistry is amazing. I've said it before. If you're gonna put a pull on one of our players, one of other players will be open. So that's how we score. Just passing around. I don't know.
Well, back-to-back games now. It's been tight contest. Obviously, the win against Hewlett, and then today to be able to beat a very good Shoreham-Wading River squad. Eventual loss from last year in the LIC as well. Overall, how does it feel now to get back to these winning ways?
It felt great. Hopefully, we get on a run as we come towards playoffs. We got Wantagh next week, and then from that, we're focusing on playoffs. I'm going to do what Coach says so we can go as far as we can.
What else needs to be worked on for this group to be able to make a strong run in the postseason?
Overall, it's just we got to speak more. We got to communicate more, and then eventually in the second half, we communicated more and we finished our shots.
Captain J.P. Basile, huge game again. As always, I feel like we're saying that. We're broken records when it comes to Garden City lacrosse. 12-11 the final score as the Trojans down the Wildcats here in Laxalt Cancer. For everyone here at News 12 Varsity, my producer, Josh Rebsky, I'm Dan Savarino saying thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
You watch because it's your home, your school, your team. Because it's your brother, sister, daughter, and son. Because you love the "can you believe it, did you see that?" and the "oh my goodness, what a win" moments. So yeah, you watch. Never miss a moment. Download the News 12 Varsity app today.